Alright, it is 4:30, the last day of April, and the main watch list is a bit clean. So GGII, GVSI, these are both going to be morning panic bounce place number 5 setups possibility. These are both very similar in that they went from, sub penny 3 to 3 cents, both GGII, GVSI. And there is like an all-day life webinar thing with, right now it's just Kyle, was going to be Tim and Kyle. I will be watching that, but I think in the morning I will be looking at these setups just to trade. I won't be watching the webinar, BPSR. Yes, I can consider this for a morning panic, but it's a bit sketchy because it hasn't rained a bunch of days like these other two stocks. So still a possibility. SPZI, it's just gonna be a watch. I don't know, it's just an interesting stock. It looked all sketchy, but I mean, it did a nice move. I do have other stocks on the other watch list, but these are basically the main stocks. Not really SPZI, it's just there, but I'm looking forward to a potential morning panic, and a bit scary, but I am considering a larger size. It all depends, really. If it has to be really nice, but I am thinking of trading just slightly larger. I can't be too comfortable. I have to, constantly be pushing myself, and I'm trading these like $400 positions. I know I can do more. I've done more. I think the largest I've ever traded was, like 2,000, and even that's not very much for a real day trader. So I'll be considering larger sizes, but I'll just play it easy, and it's just gonna be morning panics right now, and maybe if there's something running, but I'd rather do morning panics. Alright, it is 9:35 a.m. I might sound a little nervous, but I'm really not, because I'm out of the trade by now. But BPSR, very choppy mess. It is downtrending, but choppy. Kyle Williams is trying to short this stock. Congrats to him. Seems very choppy, but could totally work. GGII, I bought this for a number 5 setup, and we have a large seller at 36.25 is the size at 3 cents. Don't know if it'll break or not, but GVSI also did a similar downtrend. This one spiked for 2 minutes. It wasn't bad. I mean, from 29 to 33. This one was a bit better, actually, if you ask me, compared to GGII. I actually traded, I made 30 bucks. I traded a larger size, so GGII I bought. My execution kind of sucked, dude. 285 was the top of my limit, but really I was trying to get into it here, right? But, it worked. And then I held for a minute, just a little longer than normal. I held for 2 minutes. Sold into here at 295 because the price action wasn't looking too nice, but it did eventually get to 3. The issue is that there's that big seller there. It looks like he might get taken out. That would be impressive if it gets taken out, but I'm already out the trade. I don't mind that. I wasn't gonna try that wait and hold through that big seller, especially when I'm trading a size that's larger than what I normally trade. And just to see, I bought at 285. So, that was almost a $900 position. It looks like it did reject 3. There was just that big seller there, and it looks like he's still there, but people just don't want to buy him. And then I sold at 295. It was just a penny better. Didn't like the price action, although it did get to 3, but there was that big seller, that big wall. So that's not looking so good. GVSI, I guess in terms of range, I guess this one was better, but I don't know, a bit choppier. SPZI looks like it's going to try uptrending. It's already a red candle, but doesn't look too bad. I'll be looking at maybe higher low setups from here. I'm going to take things pretty easy. I'm up 30 bucks. On the day, would hate to trade this thing all the way back to something under 0. So I'll just play it pretty safe. Not a bad trade at all. My entry could have been better, but I think my sell was pretty nice. Yeah, and I sold with a limit order. I didn't sell with a market order. Alright, yeah, I'll come back with any updates. Right now, no true setups. I'm just looking for, at this point, higher lows. Alright, 9:43 AM. Just wanted to make an update. This thing got as high as 32. Pretty impressive. Just to summarize again, I bought here. My entry could have been better, I think, but I bought here and I sold at 295, just a penny higher. Eventually touched 3. Struggled there. Big seller. I would have sold there, even if, you know, I got to this level. I would have sold because I don't want to take the risk that the big seller on the ask is not going to budge through and then it makes a stutter step or something like that. So very nice. It got to 32, a bit jumpy between the bid and the ask. Very impressive. I wanted to still have been holding again because I would have sold at this level right here when there was that big seller, but hey, it did it. The volume faded, as you actually want to look forward to. Volume fading, because that means people are done dumping their shares, and now it can start breathing, it can start bouncing. So that's pretty impressive. BPSR, I consider this for a higher low, but a bit sketchy because this thing could be like RGBP, which, you know, was up for like 2 days very nicely, but then it just doesn't look nice anymore because it runs out of steam. It could totally bounce. I mean, I've traded RGBP for bounce plates, but that's the mindset I have with BPSR. I could still do it. I could uptrend, and it's kind of doing it already. I mean, 45 to 47. I would have liked it if it didn't drop as low as it did, though. This is a bit too much, and I generally like doing this setup when it has a clean panic. This isn't really that clean. That's very choppy. I guess something like GVSI, right, had that panic, a little cleaner bounce, and then they had this higher low off the morning low. So then they had a spike from 29 to 32. You know, puts up another higher low at 30. And now it's at 33 at the highest point. You get almost 33. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. SPZI, I like this. No intentions to really trade it, but this sketchy stock, I just like it. I don't know. Look at it. It went from 30 to 38. Very sketchy stock. But I like it. It just keeps going. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. It just keeps uptrending. So no setups I'm too interested in. GGII, maybe if it does a dip towards a VWAP level and then it holds it, or maybe it goes slightly under it if it keeps uptrending or holding its highs there and the VWAP catches with it. Other than that, no true setups right now. It's just going to be a watch. Okay, 9:56 AM. Just want to make an update. BPSR, in theory, I really considered it for inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, and it can do some kind of an uptrend, break the VWAP level, and maybe consolidate in the 50s. I don't know. Maybe it could run up. Maybe it will reject and turn around. It's not going to be a trade for me because I don't like the amount of people who are on the ask. There is a lot of people on the ask. There is dumping on the bid. It could still do it. That price action could change at any point. But when I was interested in buying, it was just not doing it. So it's a no-go. GGII is trying to embarrass me, and it's doing a good job because it's at 35. Remember, I bought it right here 285 and I sold right here at 295. Even if I have held, I would have sold here because of that big seller. It broke through it. It broke through it and it made this nice run to 35. Never provided a higher low setup for me to be interested in buying, so that never happened. So that I never traded that. GVSI initially was a better spike because it went from 29 to 33. I would have instantly sold seeing that excessive spike. I had that happen a while ago. I traded a similar morning panic setup to where it just bounced so excessively. I sold into that, and that would have saved me from all of this holding right here. And then it finally broke this level. It went green on the day, and now it's at 36. So that's pretty impressive. I think GGII is better long term, just overall spike. GVSI I think provided a quick, nicer spike at the shortest time period, but it was much choppier, and now it's having a nice spike as well. So that's pretty impressive. I think these two are pretty similar, just like what I said in the morning. They have similar price ranges. They look similar on the chart. I like this one, the SPZI, the sketchy stock, is up 40%. At no point was I just going to randomly buy it. That's not really my setup. I've been burned doing stuff like that where I'm like, oh, this stock is going up. Let me buy and see how much it keeps going. No, whenever I do that, I always get burned. It's just kind of degenerate. No real risk level unless it's right at the same level you bought. So then you're like, alright, let me buy at 35, you sell at 34, and then it goes to 36, right? That's not, I want an actual setup. I want something that looks, I guess, something more complicated than something as simple as just, I'm just going to randomly buy it and think it's going to keep spiking, because I've seen a lot of people get burned doing that. BPSR looks like the sellers are in control because they pushed it to 46. Nothing I want to trade. I don't see any nice percent gainers on stocks to trade, so it's just going to continue to be a watch. Very nice to see this nice move right here. We haven't seen these in a while. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Okay, it's 10:08 a.m. I think I'm just going to take things very easy from now on. I'll just be listening to the live stream. If there are any really good setups, I will trade them, but I probably don't think I'm going to trade the rest of today. I'll have to see. Of course, anything can happen. BPSR could be holding its lows right here, and it could uptrend, but here's the thing. This stock isn't really a pump. It was up on good coronavirus news with India, so because it's not really a pump, I don't want to consider buying this for maybe a reversal over a long period of time. A slow number 5 setup is what I call it. Not the best name, but if it was like LTNC, HMBL, if it was a pure pump and it's doing this, well, sometimes they're like, hey, we still got more stuff to do with this stock. So eventually they start bringing it back up. Because this is more of a legitimate company, it could do it, but it's just less likely. It might have been overbought, or maybe too many shorts got squeezed trading this. So now this is the result of it, not necessarily because it's a pump and they just keep pushing it up, right? Because they keep buying it up. So I'm not going to trade this. This thing could totally reverse. I'll make an update. It could totally just do a curving action and reverse all the way back, but because it's not really a pump, I mean, sure, there are people probably pumping this, but because it's like fundamentally up on good news, kind of like RGBP, is not really the kind of stock that can just come back again and make another run up, as likely as a pure pump like LTNC, HMBL. So let me just, I don't know if I can really show this here, but with RGBP, when it downtrended. Now it would come back, but just not the same way that LTNC would, where it's down on the day, right, and it looks like crap, but then they close it at its highs, or at least they try to. Kind of like this day right here, it had this big morning panic from 47, it got as low as 33, and then throughout the rest of the day, they just kept pushing it up towards its highs. It had this nice close at 45 from 33, and a morning spike, and they had more work. They had more they had more things to do with it. So BP wasn't really like that. BPSR could do it too. I'm not saying it's not going to. I'm saying it's less likely, so I'm not going to trade it, even if it makes me look stupid now at 48. It's just not something I want to trade right now. I don't want to, I'll be honest, I don't want to lose that money I just made trading, even though it's not much. I just especially the last day of the month, right? I don't want to be that guy who had a nice trade, and then overall on the month it looks nice, lots of progress made, and then I just have this stupid trade and I just I'm right on the month or something like that. I just don't want to risk that. So I'm going to take it very easy. GGII again, it got to 35, and it could keep going if it wants to. Overextend it from the VWAP level. Maybe if it drops towards VWAP and holds after the VWAP catches up, or this thing downtrends a little, or if, a little bit of each. Maybe, or maybe a dip below VWAP 2, GVSI, something similar, although this one's a bit choppier. PCTL, I didn't see the stock. It spiked a bit. I just didn't see it in stocks to trade when I looked at it, but it's there now. I would have maybe considered buying this first dip under VWAP, but probably not, because it's on its first day, and it just scares me that you see a stock spike, downtrends, oh, let me buy it here, but it just fades the rest of the day. That wasn't the case here, but it's pretty nice. I guess maybe when it dipped below it, came back and then started to hold it. Maybe not really. It didn't really hold it that nicely, so it's just gonna be a watch here. SPZI, I like this stock. I just like it. I don't know why. Nice uptrend here. Just gonna be a watch. Gonna just look at stocks, but take it very easily. I'll be watching a live stream, and I'll make an update later as to how it goes with BPSR. Looks like it's at 50, skipping through air. Volume is faded, but very impressive. I could have bought it, but it's just not as high risk reward. You can't say, oh, well, you should have bought because you're seeing now that it's spiked. At the time, you don't know if it's going to spike or not, and this, from my experience, tends to work more on pumps. So if I keep seeing it work on these type of stocks, that'll be something that I'll have to adjust. But as of now, I'll just continue watching setups. Nice to see it do this uptrend, and I'll keep looking. Okay, it is 10:58 a.m. I'm just taking it easy, just listening to the all-day live trading webinar. So QNTA, just saw it. I'm not gonna trade this stock. Very impressive. Maybe a VWAP hold or VWAP dip. First dip under VWAP, but I don't like how this stock is very wicky, so maybe it can spike, sure, but then it can just downtrend, so just gonna take it easy with that one. Probably I'm not gonna consider trading it. BPSR was making me look really stupid when I was talking about how I don't want to buy this stock at the lows right here because it's not a pump, and pumps typically, if the promoters are still interested in their stock, making money, selling shares, doing what they're doing, they're gonna push it back up. And this one did uptrend to 52, but now it's back at 46. So I'd like to say, that was my mindset, and it was, but it did make me look a little stupid there when it was uptrending. GGII could have been a first, dip under VWAP buy, but this is kind of iffy. Volume isn't too bad, but it could be much worse. And then it is, uptrending to 35 from 33. Not that much range, just under 10%, but hey, that's better than I did here with my morning panic dip buy. GVSI is looking nice too, but nothing I really want to trade. PTCL, maybe a first dip buy under VWAP, but the way this one is doing it and the volume is fading, it could keep downtrending, so it's just gonna be a watch. No updates as in anything that I've traded or not. Unfortunately, my favorite stock, Mr. P, SPZI, is downtrending. I'm not gonna dip by this because it's only been up a few days, but very cool stock. Just gonna call it off right here. I'll make an update later perhaps, or yeah, I might make an update later today if I trade something, but I'll probably just call it off. Overall, just had a good trade with GGII. Now it looks very nice. Oh, my buy at 285, genius. Under VWAP, look at that, beautiful. But nobody knows what it's gonna do unless you're a promoter, I guess. This one was pretty impressive. Once it broke this level, that had a big seller, and that big seller, if that was a short seller, rip. Big short seller got squeezed. Very impressive move. I hope we can see more of those. I could have sold half my position, and that would have, maybe perhaps allowed me to hold it longer. But I don't mind that because I was trading a larger position size, and It's good. I've traded these sizes before, then I kind of went back, and now that I'm more confident, I'll consider trading larger position sizes on morning panics. But when it comes to any other setup, I'll still stick with small position sizes just because I'm not too, experienced trading them. So I'm thankful to God for today. Again, if there's any more updates, anything I really want to point out or something that I trade, I'll make an update. Other than that, then I'll just probably call it off right here. A pretty good trading day. Alright, it is 4:07 p.m. Markets just closed 7 minutes ago. I just want to add just a quick recap over everything. And the trading, the life mastery thing, whatever you want to call it, was pretty good. BPSR, this one did do a downtrend, and it did try to reverse, right? But it's ultimately down 30% on the day. GGII, this is the one I considered and bought for a morning panic, and it worked. I just did not sell. Looking at the entire pattern, the best, but I don't regret it too much just because of the fact that we did hit that 30 level and it was that big seller. It could have easily have rejected in some other timeline. This one was nice too, GVSI. This one did provide a higher low. I just missed out on that one. PCTL was an uptrending stock. It lost volume and it kind of faded the rest of the day. QNTA, so this one I actually considered buying around here for inverse head and shoulders, but I don't like how sharp the drop was right here, so it kind of threw me off a bit. But it eventually worked out because it made that shoulder right along the same line as this one right here. Not exactly, but it went from 12 to 14. I wouldn't have considered any of this right here, nor would I have really considered it. Maybe the breakout, but I don't think I would. Definitely the inverse head and shoulders here. SPZI didn't do much. It did a nice run up though, but after that it kind of lost it. Just gonna call it off right here. I'm gonna consider only for morning panic dip buys trading the larger size, like $1,000 like I did here. Well, turned out to be 800 because I like to round. So if I do the math and it says that 1,000 whatever, like for example 1,000, then I say okay, I'm not gonna put 2519 shares. I'm gonna round it to 2,500 for example. So that makes it lower, and then if the stock is continuously dropping, it kind of brings it down to a $900 or $800 position. But the idea is 1,000, just give or take. But I can trade larger, but I'm just gonna take it easy. Just gonna consider trading larger on morning panics. But any other setup, I'll stick with a very small $200 to $500 position size. Just because I'm less likely to make money on those, because I'm not as good at those patterns as a morning panic. So just gonna call it off. Overall, a really good trading day. I'm actually gonna play video games just because I've studied enough. At least I consider the market mastery. At least I have this rule where if I want to play video games or do something like that, I need to study at least 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I've basically beat that by a lot. Although I round off market mastery days, even if I'm there the whole time, to 3 hours. So it's not like I studied for 6 hours. It's not really the same because you're just watching a live stream passively while you're doing other stuff, and I'm not always listening to it. I might be trading, I might be looking at setups myself. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to play Team Fortress 2. I've played that game since I was like 15 or 14. I don't remember anymore. I'm going to call it off. Just overall a pretty good trading day. Good Friday. Look forward to Monday. I guess GVSI and GGII. These are still potentials for morning panic setups. PCTL didn't run much. QNTA will be interesting. Hopefully it can run more. Wouldn't be too interested in dip buying it the next day. BPSR wasn't bad. It did a nice run, but this one did a very choppy morning panic. I wasn't interested in it. I wasn't interested in it at all. Although I did kind of do an inverse head and shoulders here. Again, just don't want to really consider these for morning panics because it's like a fundamentally up stock. that just had a bunch of shorts probably. It's not really a pump. So I'm going to call it off. Overall, a pretty good trading day.